These are the 3 compost bins on plot 3, and I think for next year I'm going to put some tarpaulin over the top because it's been extremely wet, and we're going to have a look at this compost bay today to see whether or how soon it's going to be usable. I'm hoping that we can start using it pretty soon, although the top layer may not be rotted down sufficiently, but underneath it should be, I'm hoping it will be quite good. So these were the first kind of 3 compost bins that we built about 2.5 years ago now, and it is helping enormously on our production of compost for our 3 half plots. So I've taken off the top layer, and it is extremely wet. The rotting isn't too bad. We can probably use it, but it's not as rotted down as I would like. And I think that putting a cover on it would help that. And also it's been very cold in the winter months, so some of the rotting slows down then. So I think, yep, we'll be able to use it. So the compost at the bottom here is looking really good, and we're going to spread that today, and then we shall move a lot of this, turn it into that empty bunker. And there's a lot of conversations about making compost, and I'm sure that there's lots of information that you can read or that's on the website. As you can see from our compost bins, we've just used reclaimed pallets that we get free from a DIY place. Most people will give them to you, but also you see them all around the streets as well, and people that are having work done will often give them to you too. But try not to use ones that are coloured, because any of the ones that are painted blue, red and stuff, sometimes they're treated with chemicals, so you don't really want that. So we don't worry too much about green and brown materials, although we try to get all sorts of different things and mix them up, because that's what's really important. So some annual weeds, green from clearing your plot, anything like that. We also don't put house waste, vegetable peelings and things on the compost either, unless we run out of room at home, just because there's quite a lot of rodents and things down here. So we don't tend to do that. We get horse poo, cardboard, grass clippings, egg boxes, toilet rolls, anything like that. Just mix it all up and it's fine. We only put annual weeds on our compost. We don't put perennials. And I know there's quite a few people who say that you can put perennials on. Just that we cannot always guarantee that our compost bins are going to heat up hot enough to kill any kind of hard roots or anything like that. So we just tend not to do it. That's as simple as that. We turn the compost bin just the once. If we can, but if we can't, it doesn't really matter, because the worms do a lot of the work, and they'll mix things up. Sometimes you might have to keep the tops of the compost bins and put somewhere else, because it's not quite well rotted enough if you haven't turned it, but that's not really a big problem. So asking neighbours for lawn cuttings and things is great, as long as they haven't sprayed it with any pesticides. And anything that you can get and mix up really well. It does need to be kept moist but not soaking wet, which is why I think that we'll be getting some tarpaulin just to keep off the water when we're having endless weeks of very heavy rain. I know that a lot of people get their compost bins working really quickly, but we tend to estimate a year for our bins to rot down. These are our other 3 compost bins on plot 1, and these were, 2 of them have been here for a long time, but we had to empty them because they'd actually collapsed, they were so rotted, and we rebuilt 2 compost bins into 3. We made a 3rd compost bin. This is the one currently in use, and these have gone down an awful lot. And this first compost bin is actually what we've been creating as leaf mould, and we just topped it off with some horse manure to stop the leaves blowing out, and also just to kind of kickstart some of the breaking down. So our neighbour is great because we live near the forest, and he bags up all the leaves for us that fall from the trees into his garden, which comes to an awful lot of leaves every year. And we only want to give one large compost bin over to leaf mould. So last year he gave us so many we couldn't fit them all into the compost bin, and we had bags and bags of them lying around waiting for the leaves to decompose a bit so we could keep topping it up. But we also want to have a turnaround of a year so that we can actually use the leaf mould in a year, because again, we don't want to allocate or put aside 2 compost bins for just leaf mould. Because we're no dig, we need to create as much compost as we possibly can. So what we're doing now is using an old dustbin and chopping the leaves up and putting them into the compost bin. One, it's enabled us to get far more leaves into the compost bin, and 2, chopping them up will make sure that they decompose even quicker, so that we're hoping by this time, sort of next year, the leaf mould bin will be ready to use on top of our potatoes. Also on plot 1 we have 2 much smaller compost bins, and in this first one is last year's, if I can lift it up, this is last year's leaf mould that we'll be using on the potatoes, the no big dig potatoes. Look at all those worms. Ooh, yeah, very happy. So they're all getting ready for putting on the potatoes when we plant them in April. And this is full of horse manure, green waste, not green waste, but vegetation, cardboard, everything. So it's just a general compost, and that won't be ready for probably until autumn. So in all, we've got 6 very large compost bins and these 2 small ones. And as this leaf mould gets empty, I'll be moving the other leaf mould into it. If you've enjoyed the content of this vlog, give us a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and next to the subscribe button is a bell. If you press on the bell and select all, then you'll be notified when I bring out new videos. Until then, happy gardening everybody. Bye bye.